Okay, welcome to Recently Interesting. Today, we're going to be talking about the Blake Lively controversy. Are you so excited?
So excited.
I know how you love to talk about celebrities.
I mean, I've heard about this topic because I feel like, I don't know, a lot of YouTubers have been talking about it. I guess not a lot,
really?
but some of them.
Who have you been watching talk about it?
None.
Oh.
I haven't watched it. I've just seen titles.
Oh, titles. Probably Brett.
Yeah, the comment section, yeah.
Brett's made a couple videos about it. All of the YouTubers I watch, I feel like, are making videos about it, and I'm watching it.
I feel like the comment section lady pops up in
Right.
my shorts often.
Oh, really?
And I'm just like, I never watch her videos, but you're popping up.
I watch some of her videos. Yeah, I enjoy... I can't watch all of her content, but I can watch some of it. If I watch too much, then it just gets to the point where you're like, why do I even care? Why are you telling me this, Brett?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about all of the political commentators, though. You know, it just gets to a point where you're like, why are you telling me this? But the celebrity stuff sometimes I find pretty interesting because I feel like it's almost like a soap opera, but real life, you know? So just like how you'd watch a movie or a TV show, it's like that, but people's real lives.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what's...
what's the rundown? What happened?
Okay, so there's kind of two parts that I want to talk about. Two parts of the controversy, I would say. First is her movie that's coming out, which is called It Ends With Us. And then the next is her backlog interviews that have resurfaced. Okay, so all the controversy started because of It Ends With Us, which is a movie that she's making. It's based on a book. It's about domestic violence, and she read the book, loved the book, wanted to be in the movie, talked to the author. A man named Justin Baldoni had already bought the rights to the book to make a movie, but Blake Lively's like, well, I'll be a producer on it. So her and Justin decide, so he is producing the movie, but he's the director. And her and kind of Ryan Reynolds, we'll get into that later, are producing it. So they're paying for the movie, and he's the director. And also, Justin Baldoni, the director, is cast as the lead man, and Blake cast herself as the lead woman. Which some people had issues with just because they felt like she wasn't the right age, but whatever, who cares? So it's a movie about domestic abuse, in which Blake Lively is the one getting abused. And so they make the movie, they start doing press, and everyone starts thinking something weird's going on. Because at first, the director, Justin, is not a part of the press at all, despite being the director and the lead man in the movie. But Blake is doing press, all the other cast members are doing press, but he was sick at the time, so people are like, oh, it's probably just because he's sick, that's why he's not there. But then he starts doing press, and he actually starts doing press by himself without the cast members. And the tone of the press that they each were doing was very, very different. Blake Lively was very kind of bubbly and happy and like just talking about the movie, and also she came out with a hair care line at the exact same time that she's doing press for this, conveniently enough.
A hair care line? What?
Yeah. So
a hair care
yeah,
line.
like shampoo. I don't know what exactly, hair care products.
Gotcha.
So she's like, yeah, my hair care, and literally people are saying to her in her interview, like, oh man, don't you just feel on top of the world right now? Like, you're doing this movie, your husband just had Deadpool out, and she's like, yeah, and my hair care line. Like, she cannot shut up about her hair care line. And also, she's just being very lighthearted about the whole thing, considering that it is a film about domestic abuse, there was an interviewer who asked her, so, this is kind of a...
dark topic?
Yeah, dark topic. So, but there's a lot of people who can relate to it. So if they wanted to talk to you or approach you about it, what would be the best way for them to approach you? And instead of just saying, I'd love to hear their stories, or I'm glad that they could relate, or here's a domestic abuse helpline, crisis center, or anything like that. She's like, what do you want me to give you my address? I could do phone share, what's it on your iPhone?
Share my location.
She's like, yeah, I could share my location and just completely laughs it off. Which is not really the right attitude, especially considering that
I get how she took it, but that's not what he was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's if you're walking down the street and someone's like, oh, you're in that one movie. I personally experienced that. Thank you for your whatever. And she's just like, what do you want my address?
What do you want? Or you want to talk to me about it? Like the tone of basically why would I care about those normal people? I'm a celebrity. I'm above it. Don't talk to me.
Interesting. Okay.
So this has kind of been her attitude, and then meanwhile, Justin Baldoni in his press, totally different tone. He's very much talking about, filming this movie was really hard, getting it, because to get into character, you really have to kind of go there in your head, and it was really emotional for me, putting myself in the shoes of this kind of a person, and sometimes I'd have to just go into another room and just sort of cry and try to let it out, because it was really hard acting like a domestic abuser. And then even somebody I think it was at the premiere, was saying to him, wow, how does it feel? This is your night. And he's like, no, it's not my night. This night is for, I think the main character's name is Lily. And he's like, this character's for this night's for all the girls who can relate to that girl, and for the author, and for Blake. It's not about me, it's about them. And he's very pushing the attention their way.
Right.
And being very respectful about kind of domestic abuse. And at the premiere, they were all at the premiere. Nobody took a photo with Justin, but everybody's photographed with Blake. Even Hugh Jackman was there at the premiere with Ryan Reynolds, because they've been doing their Deadpool press together. Mm-hmm. They were there together. They were taking pictures with Blake, and everybody's kind of all over Blake, and all the other cast members on social media, a bunch of celebrities are tagging Blake. Nobody is mentioning Justin Baldoni.
Okay.
So it becomes apparent. It's not just that he was sick. There's some kind of beef going on. Come to find out, Blake Lively's basically just running amok, because she had certain scenes that she rewrote because, not she rewrote. She had Ryan Reynolds, her husband, rewrite certain scenes and didn't even tell the screenwriter, and the screenwriter found out at the premiere, which seems inappropriate. They thought that people had just ad-libbed, but actually the scenes had been rewritten.
Interesting.
She also she watched Justin Baldoni's cut of the movie and was like, I don't like this cut. Called in the editor from the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, mm-hmm. which is a comedy, and had him edit the movie. And so there was two versions of the movie that they had, like, they pre-screened, and from the audience's response, they went with Justin's version of the movie.
Okay.
And so then all this information starts coming out, kind of, so you can kind of understand. Then also, I guess people from Blake's camp were saying that Blake was really offended. I feel like they were saying this because they couldn't find a way to make him look like he was the bad guy. They said Blake was really offended because he asked his trainer how much she weighs, because there was a scene where he had to lift her and he has back problems, and so he asked his trainer, like, okay, well, how much does she weigh? Like, do you think there's special, like, training that I should be doing to prepare for this lift? And she felt like that was him calling her fat and shaming her postpartum body. And then he actually had already said,
he's like, no, I just have to lift another person over my head, and I need to know how much they weigh.
I don't know how
I don't want to drop you.
Her. But yeah, so he was like trying to not throw out his back. And then she said that in a kissing scene, he lingered. Although he had actually said that during the intimate scenes, he had Blake direct those scenes because he wanted it to be from a female's perspective rather than through a male's perspective directing it. So he actually said that she directed those scenes, but she said he lingered. Okay. So he made her very uncomfortable.
Okay. That's just an interesting... Okay. It's a movie about domestic abuse. It's like, you make me uncomfortable. It's like, uncomfortable filming a movie about domestic... Yeah, that makes sense.
And some people were speculating before everyone found out about the whole 2 different cuts of the movie and stuff like that. They were saying, well, maybe it's because it's a movie about domestic abuse that they're intentionally promoting it this way of, like, him being separate from everybody else, like, to kind of be in theme with the movie. And it's like...
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea.
Yeah, it could be. Although, if the whole point was to be in theme with the movie and that's why he's separate, then isn't it kind of odd that Blake Lively is over here like, okay, so my hair care line, you know, and just trying, like, not really being willing to talk about domestic abuse at all, but just going around talking about how she feels on top of the world.
Yeah. Okay, is that... I thought there was more to that. Is that it?
So that's the drama regarding that movie. Because people are basically thinking that Blake Lively is insensitive and that she steamrolled the director. And that she kind of has convinced the rest of the cast. So it could be that it's this theme of the movie and that's why he's isolating himself. But what other people are thinking is maybe she's decided that she doesn't like him and convinced everybody else, don't talk to Justin. Don't talk about Justin. Don't. To try to just minimize his involvement in the movie completely.
Okay.
Which is... So she's now been labeled as a mean girl.
Okay.
And then a video came out of her exhibiting some mean girl behavior, which goes into the next part of the drama.
Okay.
So that's the movie drama.
Okay.
Right as all this was happening, a woman from Norway releases a video, and she titles it "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." And that is an interview that she did with Blake Lively years and years ago. Like, I think it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. For this movie.
So great timing.
Very interesting timing. Because she's also now claiming, I did not know about the Blake Lively drama going on at the time. It's like, really? You, a celebrity journalist with this tape that makes Blake Lively look bad, just happened to release it conveniently when she was getting a lot of bad press. Hard to believe.
But that aside,
she releases this video in which Blake Lively had just announced a couple days before that she was pregnant, and she starts the video saying, "Oh, congratulations on your little bump." And Blake Lively looks at her and says, "Congratulations on your little bump." And this woman is not pregnant, and this woman is actually infertile. And so this lady just kind of, just felt kind of uncomfortable right away. She was trying to be nice, and okay. Blake Lively just kind of, boom, right? Like, insinuated that she's fat.
Yeah.
And then the other girl in the interview, the other actress, is like, "What about my bum?" And they, start talking about boobs. Her and Blake Lively start talking about boobs. And then for the rest of the interview, Blake Lively will barely acknowledge the interviewer, but keeps just sort of talking to the actress next to her. And one of the first questions that the lady asks her, she goes, and this is a period piece movie that they were in. Mm-hmm. It's like 1920s or 1930s. And she says, "So, did you guys love the costumes that you wore?" And Blake Lively's like, "You know what, it's so interesting because people keep asking us about the costumes that we wore, but I wonder if they would ask the men that." And then starts just going on and on and on and on and on about what the boys were wearing in the movie. And the interviewer says, she goes, I would ask the men that. And Blake Lively just ignores that comment and keeps going on and on and on. Basically runs out the clock almost, talking about the men's costumes. And it's funny because apparently this was around the whole Me Too time and stuff like that, and people are saying that there was this attitude, this thing in the air of like, you gotta shut down sexist questions for actresses. Mm-hmm. And you've seen, there's other examples of actresses getting asked inappropriate questions. What comes to mind specifically is Scarlett Johansson. One time a guy asking her if she can wear underwear under her Black Widow costume, and she kind of calls him out saying, why? She said, all day people are asking me about if I wear underwear under my suit or not. Why do you think that's okay to ask me about whether or not I'm wearing underwear? Which I think is fair enough. But it seemed like this was just an example of Blake Lively making something out of nothing and taking the whole experience, her taking something out of nothing and making it go way too far. So the interview was horrible. And then
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a couple of interview, like, I guess you'd call them bad interviews with actors or actresses, where, like, the actor or actress sort of gets, like, wound up mm-hmm. because of a question that they've been asked. And I watched it and I was like, oh, like, why would they say that? Or, why would they be mean or whatever? And then I, like, looked more into it and I'm like, oh, they've been in, like, these sort of interviews all day. Like, all day long. And, like, this is, like, maybe their second to last. Maybe it's not even, maybe it's the middle of the day, but they have the rest of the day to just, like, have people come in and talk to them and talk to them and talk to them and ask the same question. And I feel like it's sort of like just anyone, like if anyone was just to come and ask you a question, the same question multiple times, you'd be like, dude, like, I get it. And so even though it's different people, I feel like you kind of see them like sort of break at one point where they're just like, I've been asked the same questions all day, I don't want to talk about it. Like,
it's like, now I don't care how I act.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like celebrities being pregnant or having any sort of news really in their life must be similar to like for a normal person. Like if you were wearing a cast, you know what I mean? Like if you were wearing a cast on your leg or a cast on your arm.
Every conversation, oh, your leg, what'd you do?
Yes. So wherever you go, people are going to be like, what happened? What happened? What happened? And it's just like, like, you know, you can't fault them because people are just curious and they obviously want to ask you because they're genuinely interested. And I feel like with an interview, it's the same way. Even if you've been asked the same question a million different times by a million different interviewers, this specific interviewer is going to ask you that question because they're interested, their viewers are interested, and maybe they haven't seen you answer that question before. So I feel like it's like I can understand where the frustration would be, how you might get annoyed. But on the other side of that, it is their job.
Yeah, like you're getting paid millions of dollars not only to act in the movie but also to promote the movie.
Yeah,
that's part of your job.
It's part of their contract, right? And so it's just like,
and even if they've been doing it all day, let's say, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million to answer the same question all day long. I could do that with a smile for him. And they don't always get paid $1 million. Sometimes they get a little bit more than that.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like in any situation...
Just smile, and in your back of your head be like, I'm getting millions of dollars for this. Millions of dollars for this.
Yeah, like, well, it's not even that. It's just, like, it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. It's the fact that you chose to have this job. Like, no one's forcing any of these actors or actresses to be actors or actresses, you know? Like, they chose to become that. They got into that. They, like, went to the, casting for the movie to get on the project. They were probably super excited. They signed all the contracts, and now they're gonna, like, break down when they have to, like, execute their contract. It's like, dude, it's your job. You agreed to how much they were gonna pay you. You agreed to do what, you know, they asked you to do. You have a contract for it, so, like, do it, and don't be like a jerk about it. Like, there's no job in the world where it's acceptable for you to, like, show up to work and be mean to everyone, except maybe at that one restaurant where they'd be mean to people. You know?
Like Dick's Last Resort.
Yeah, but, like, so it's like, it doesn't matter if you're an actor and you're getting paid millions of dollars, or you're a gas station attendant, or, you know, you're working in retail. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You probably chose the job that you have, and if it's not working out for you and you're not liking it, you can look for a different job.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not a part of anyone's job description to ruin people's day. And so it's,
except for a few tow cars.
Yeah, except if you put boots on cars. Yeah, maybe.
So I also think if you're pregnant and somebody says congratulations, the appropriate answer is just thank you. And it's like, okay, maybe you didn't like the fact that she called it a little bump, but also, this woman is Norwegian. English is not her first language. She speaks with an accent. It's very clear that she's foreign. Just chalk it up to a language barrier thing and say thank you, you know?
Yeah.
She's just trying to say congratulations. I wish that after Blake Lively was like, congratulations on your little bump, I wish that the lady had said, Oh, I'm so sorry. English isn't my first language. I must have misspoke. I meant congratulations on your pregnancy.
No,
I'm not pregnant. Did you think that I was pregnant?
I wish you would have said that.
And then Blake would just be like, what? And Blake was so mean. And the thing is, so she also was kind of an a-hole about the fact that the lady asked her about the costumes, and she derailed the entire interview and tried to imply that the lady was sexist. And yet, for this movie that she's doing right now, she can't shut up about the costumes. And she keeps talking about, yeah, I actually pulled from my own wardrobe. It's like, these Louis Vuittons are actually mine, and these I borrowed from Taylor Swift, and these I borrowed from this other celebrity, and she can't shut up about the clothes that she's wearing in the movie. And it's like, oh, but Blake, I thought that you're not supposed to ask about the girls' clothes. You're not supposed to talk about the girls' clothes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're rich people.
Mm-hmm. So
it's a different world.
So this interviewer, since releasing that video got millions and millions of views. She's released more videos in which she talks about it. And something that she said, she also interviewed Blake Lively another time.
The Norwegian has released more videos. Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people had questions about the interview. So she released a video kind of answering people's questions and saying, because people were like, why didn't you release this earlier? And she's like, to be honest, I didn't release it earlier because I was worried about the impact that it would have on my career. And so she says, as a journalist, you have to work really hard to even get the opportunity to interview these people. And if you get a reputation as
a bad interviewer,
yeah, you could easily get yourself cut. And especially if the celebrity doesn't like the way that they were portrayed or that they portrayed themselves, really, they could say, I'm not going to take interviews from that lady anymore, you know? Or
from that label, yeah.
So basically it would have been a career risk to her. She's freelance, actually. But so
how the heck did a random, I guess she's not super random, but just how the heck did some Norwegian woman get an interview with Blake Lively?
Because they do foreign press also.
Yeah, but
even there's foreign premieres.
How much money did they pay for that? How much is she's freelance? How much did she pay for that interview? That is wild to me. I mean, hats off to that alone. Like, imagine you just like, you know what? I want to interview some famous person, and just like, you're not attached to any corporation. It's just you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's impressive on its own.
I'd love to. Anyways, so she so she's got other friends who are journalists too, this lady.
Yeah.
And she said, a problem that journalists are now starting to have is if you do an interview and the celebrity's PR feels like they didn't look good in that interview, they'll say, oh, we're going to keep the tape. And they won't give you the tape. And so she had a friend who flew, I don't know where the girl lives, England, wherever, I don't know where she lives. She had flown, I think, to Germany, specifically to do an interview. The actor's representation felt like he didn't look good in the interview, pulled the tape. She has to fly all the way back now with nothing, regardless of the fact that she paid to come here to interview this person.
Mm-hmm.
And she now, that's just a massive loss for her.
That's very interesting.
And so then you get into this dynamic where a celebrity can to save their image, screw over a journalist. No, even more so than just before, where it's like, oh, I'll tell people that I don't like you, but actually financially cut them out of. I mean, you're making a product, and then they take away the product at the end.
That's true, but they're also like. This is gonna sound a little weird, but celebrities themselves are the product.
They're a brand.
Like, yeah, so like every celebrity name, whether it's an actor like Blake Lively or a singer like Taylor Swift, like Taylor Swift is a brand in itself. Like, it's a person, but like
it's trademarked.
Yeah. And even if it wasn't, it's like anything that she does that's not good reflects poorly on her, brand, which is her name.
I know.
And so I feel like when it comes to, famous people, it makes sense that they have the ability to be like, hey, no.
I don't like how that interview went.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like that. Give me the tape, because you're not going to, like,
portray me that way.
You're not going to ruin my brand,
Yeah. So, the thing is, though, it seems so unfair. What I think is that they agreed to come to this interview. They chose how they conducted themselves in the interview. If at the end of it they decide that they're not happy with that decision and that they don't want the journalist to walk away with the tape, then they should have to pay.
Yeah,
they should have to buy it.
But if the interviewer came in and started asking a bunch of, like, weird questions, and the person's like...
They could stop the interview.
It's like, I don't want to answer that.
Yeah, they could just stop the interview. There's a bunch of videos of celebrities walking out of interviews, and there are people saying, hey, look, this interview's over.
Okay, so what's the difference then? What's the difference? So, like, if someone shows up, interviews for 5 minutes, and they're like, you know what, I don't like the direction of this interview, I'm leaving, keep the 5 minutes. Or, I'm going to talk to you for an hour, and I'm going to take that tape back. Like, it's the same thing. The person's still going home with nothing.
So that's kind of the dilemma, isn't it? Because,
there is no dilemma.
Well, because for a journalist, it sucks that, like this lady, in my opinion, she did nothing wrong. She just said, congratulations to Blake Lively for being pregnant. And then she said, did you like the costumes that you wore in the movie? I don't think that in any way her behavior was out of line. And yet...
She got to keep the tape, though.
Yeah, she did. And sometimes now, she was saying that her friends are telling her they'll take the tape and they'll keep it, or they'll take it and say, we'll send you an edited version of it. So we'll take out what we don't like, and then we'll give you the stuff we think's okay.
I mean, it's essentially what... Isn't essentially what the Kardashians did? Because, like...
In regards to what?
In regards to, like, paparazzi. Like, they would essentially hire their own paparazzi to take pictures of them so that they could control what went out. And it was, like, a huge thing when, like, some paparazzi guy got a picture of Kim Kardashian in Costa Rica or something, and it wasn't flattering.
So they do have, they have their own... Well, what I've heard is that they do have their own paparazzi that they hire, and those people, the Kardashians get to approve everything.
Right.
And they were in Mexico, and paparazzi in Mexico caught them. They were doing a bathing suit shoot, and this paparazzi caught them in their bathing suits, and oh my gosh, everyone was saying that they had diaper butts.
Well, yes,
because
their butts it wasn't flattering.
Their butts are so massive, and they were very...
Yeah, we don't need to go into detail, but essentially...
Like cottage cheese in a trash bag.
But essentially, it wasn't flattering. And they...
True.
Like... So it's essentially the same thing, what you're saying, though. Where it's like, we're going to take the tape, edit it, and send it back to you. Same thing.
Well, those people work for the Kardashians. It's not like this journalist worked for Blake Lively.
Yeah.
And Blake Lively agreed to do the interview. Like, the Kardashians didn't agree to be photographed by the paparazzi in Mexico.
That's fair.
They just stalked them and it happened.
I personally don't see any issue with the PR team taking the tape if it doesn't improve the brand, so to speak. And so, yeah, I don't. See anything.
So then that would be an industry set up in a way that all risk is at the journalist's expense.
Yeah, so you have to be a good journalist. You have to be a good interviewer.
It's not only that you have to be a good journalist, but you have to interview good people.
Catch them on a good day, essentially, yeah.
Because...
But the thing is, it would go both ways, right? Because it would be like, okay, journalists have to, like, figure out how to interview certain people. But journalists all know each other, or I guess they know other journalists, not everyone. And if there's this, like, stigma of some famous person who's like, don't even waste your time interviewing them because you're never going to get the tape. They always pull the tape. So they'll never interview them, you know? So it's like...
I don't know. I think it's harder to do it that way because you're thinking about...
It's like...
a celebrity... Any journalist would want to interview a lot of celebrities, but...
Yeah, but if there's a stigma
celebrity would want,
about a celebrity
pulling
who
the tape.
Always, it's like, yeah, dude, you're wasting your time. Like, if one of your friends came to you and you were a journalist, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna fly to, like, 1,000 miles away to interview this specific famous person, and you're like, who? Yeah, don't even waste your time. You're gonna fly out there and they're gonna pull the tape because it has to, like, be a certain way. And they're like, no, I prepared all this, all that. It's just like, I know. But so did all these other people, and it never worked. So I would recommend...
The dynamic reminds me of when we lived in a college town, and all the businesses there knew that they could just abuse the students because if a student quit, there's 100 other students that are, like, dying for a job and will take their place. And so it's this mentality of, like, I don't care if a student quits. I'm gonna treat them poorly, and they're gonna have to just deal with it. And if they don't want to deal with it, that's not even gonna inconvenience me, really.
You're talking about interviewers?
Yeah, it's like that same kind of thing with journalists and celebrities. It's like, well, there's 100 journalists who want to interview me. I'm in a bad mood because I've been in interviews all day. So if your tape has to get pulled, why should I care? Somebody else wants to interview me.
The thing is, though, these celebrities are also paid for their press, right? Like, it's in their contract to do press. So if they're out there pulling every single tape because they don't like the interview, they're not going to be paid out because
But they're not going to pull every tape. That's the thing.
They're defaulting on their contract,
they're gonna
essentially.
Pull... I don't think that they would pull every tape. Like, that day, you think Blake Lively had been doing hours of press? All the other press went out. It was only one bad tape.
Yeah.
But for that journalist, that's the only tape that she was going to get.
I guess. Anyway, so you think that if a famous person is filmed, the person filming owns it?
I think that for a photographer, when a photographer takes a picture of you, that's their property. Not your property, even though it's a picture of you. So, like, when we got married and our photographer took pictures of our wedding, even though they're pictures of our wedding, she owns those photos. Because they're her photographs.
Yeah, but we
and
also
I think the same thing
her.
for... We paid her for access to photographs, which she sent us a certain amount that she chose, that she edited, and those are the ones that we got access to.
But it's
we
not
didn't
like
get
she
access to every single photo that she took on our wedding day.
But it's not like she could just take those photos, turn around, and like send them to an ad agency for like hemorrhoid cream and be like, oh yeah, I made an extra $1,000 because I sold your photos. Like, I don't think that's legal. If you
actually read the contract, she is allowed to use our photos for advertising purposes.
For her business.
For her business.
Not to sell to other people.
That all depends on the contract that you sign.
Yeah.
So, my point is, when a journalist is coming to interview a celebrity, I think that they should have had to sign a contract beforehand acknowledging I'm consenting to being interviewed by this person. This video that they're taking is their video. Even though it's of me, I don't own it. This is a part of my job that I'm getting paid for, and I agreed to be here. And I don't think, even though I can imagine that they might like to confiscate the tape if they don't feel like they represent themselves well, I don't think that they should have the right to take away the journalist's property. And I think that it should just put the pressure on the celebrity. Represent yourself in a way that you're literally at work. Represent yourself in a way that you're okay with people seeing. And if the journalist asks inappropriate questions, then you can say, this interview's over. And then that journalist is going to have to suck it up, the fact that their interview with you was very short. But you saying this interview's over is a lot more, to an inappropriate question, is a lot more respectful than you acting like a jerk and then just taking it away.
I get it.
There's an interview of Robert Downey Jr. where the interviewer starts asking him about his like former drug use and stuff, and Robert Downey Jr. makes it clear that this is not a topic that I'm willing to talk about, and the guy keeps pushing questions about it, and they end the interview. And it's very clear in that interview that's like, well, that the journalist was out of line.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Downey Jr. doesn't look like a jerk, even though he did end the interview.
So, in that situation, you believe that the journalist or the interviewer should own the tape. And so if they went home...
It's their camera.
Sure. So if they went home and then re-edited the whole interview to make Robert Downey Jr. look bad and end the interview abruptly and without cause and then release that to the public, you think that's well within their rights? It's like, oh, this is going to make him look bad, even though that's not the truth of what happened. It's well within their rights, and Robert Downey Jr. has no access to that video and can't say, I want you to release the real one. It's like, well, it's my tape, so I'm going to release it how I see fit. You think that that's the way to go?
Maybe there should be... Well, I don't know, because if you think about it, who edits the video? Like, the journalist is going to be the one who edits the video. Well, except now, where they confiscate the tape, edit it, and then send it to the journalist.
Mm-hmm.
It's their job to edit it. That's their end of the deal. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And I think in that situation, like with Robert Downey Jr., if the guy had edited out him asking inappropriate questions and just made it look like Robert Downey Jr. stormed out of the interview, then Robert Downey Jr. could release a statement saying, this guy edited out the reason that I stormed out of the interview. He was asking me inappropriate questions about my personal life. and address that, you know. But I think that
it just seems like unnecessary work. So it's like, so the actor has to play defense in the interview, and then they'll have to play defense on the back end if the interview gets released in a bad light. And then they'll have to play defense again in the following interviews when everyone asks about that bad interview. And so it seems like just a trickle effect of just like extra work that the actor or actress is going to have to do on the back end.
But the actor who has a PR team that is specifically in charge of managing things like this.
Yeah, they have a PR team who's in charge of managing things like this, who aren't allowed to access the material that gets sent out. So they're just damage control. They're not public relations anymore. They're just
that's kind of what
control.
it is to be PR, is to be damage control.
Yeah, but it's just like they're a complete reactionary force at that point. They're not a proactive force.
It seems to me like if there's when a journalist and a celebrity come together, they're both there's a risk, right? There's a risk of the journalist going home with nothing. There's a risk of the journalist looking bad. There's a risk of the celebrity looking bad. I think if somebody has to take the risk, I think it seems to me more reasonable to ask the celebrity to take the risk because the celebrity...
Because they have more money?
Has more money, has more fame, has more power. Meanwhile, the journalist doesn't have any of that.
See,
I
disagree.
How much does a plane ticket cost?
I disagree because it's like, okay, so you're asking the person who has more money to take more risk, but they just have more to lose. Because if the interviewer goes in and just ruins things, just messes up their life with a bad interview, and sometimes these days especially, that's all it takes is saying one thing wrong, and it ends your career. And so it's like...
Well, that seems like what... Well, it'll be interesting to see what where she goes from here. Because now, Blake Lively... I feel like the fact that interview came out at the same time as she was... having this mean girl accusation on the movie that she's doing. Everybody thinks that she's not so nice at the moment, and I don't know if this is confirmed, but rumor is that her and Ryan Reynolds are going to be leaving Hollywood and move to North Carolina, and they've got 4 kids, and she's, she's been focusing more recently on being a mom and stuff like that, and so maybe they're gonna take a step back. The interesting thing is that all of this drama has been going on around Blake Lively, but has Blake Lively responded to any of it? Not that I've heard of so far.
Yeah.
What I think would be good for her to do is to just say, look, I was in a bad mood that day with that interviewer. I don't stand by the reaction that I had. It was not nice that I implied that she was fat. I'm so sad for her that she's infertile. I should have just said thank you. That was my bad. I'm sorry.
No, I disagree. I feel like with a lot of public relations,
it's just don't say anything.
It's
Ignore
just
it.
Everything is just such a quick burn, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I thought too, but I feel like this has been going on for ages now. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, but like I feel like the longest something ever lasts is like 6 months, and then it's like something else happens.
Well, the thing is, people might not be focusing on it anymore, but still the way that they feel about an actor is still there. Like people aren't talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp anymore because it's like the trial's over.
Yeah.
And yet still, is anyone going to cast Amber Heard in a movie?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably.
I doubt it.
She was in what is it? Aquaman. They didn't cut her from that.
They tried to, and they legally were not allowed. They weren't able to. It's literally addressed in the court trial that they tried to. They really did try to cut her, actually.
Interesting. Yeah, but that's the thing. I just feel like with the press, with news these days, like news reporters, journalists, they make their money on relevant, interesting information, you know? Like if you turn on any sort of even like conglomerate news, they're going to tell you about all the car crashes, all the shootings, all the robberies. And you're going to think, "Oh my gosh, like people are like going nuts." But like in your day-to-day, you probably don't see a car crash every day. You don't see a robbery every day. You know, you don't see a shooting every day. And so it's just like, you know, point being, it's just like they make their money off of news, off of things. And so I feel like with celebrities especially, it's just like, what's the hot new thing? What do the people want to know? And so they're always just pumping out like stuff that celebrities are doing. Like, who was that one celebrity? I don't know if this is even true. I think it was one of them from High School Musical, maybe. But what they started doing was like leaving the house wearing the same clothes every single day.
Princess Diana used to do that.
I thought it was an actor too.
Zac Efron?
Maybe. Or maybe it was the guy who played Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man with Emma Stone.
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Princess Diana used to not only wear the same outfit to the gym every single day so that the press couldn't get a new photo of her, but she would even walk backwards to her car so that they didn't get a photo of it looking like she was arriving and looking like she was leaving. It just always looked like the same thing.
That's hilarious. But it's just, wow, that's smart. That was really smart. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, there are people who like wore the same outfit every single day.
Yeah.
So that there was nothing to report, you know? And so it's like they need something to report. They need new drama.
Well,
and so this is like the current drama, but it'll die out.
Well, okay.
That's why our podcast is called Recently Interesting, because no one wants to hear about it.
I feel bad for the lady who paid hundreds, if not $1,000 to go interview somebody and then got her tape pulled and didn't get it back.
Yeah, but that's all hearsay. Like,
We're not in court. This is just her saying, this happened to me and this sucks. But this lady, she said it made her want to quit her job. How bad the interview was with her and Blake Lively. But really, the thing is, it's like, you know what?
Sounds like clickbait.
Maybe, well, it is. And it's like, maybe it did make you want to quit your job that day because you had a horrible day at work, right? Uh-huh. And you couldn't use that footage because you were worried about how it would affect your career if you did. And yet, by sitting on it so long, you actually turn it into a full-on weapon because as soon as some drama came around with Blake Lively, you dropped that clip and it hit, I think it was at like 6 or 7 million views. And now she's been releasing more videos talking about it, answering people's questions, all this stuff. And she's getting hundreds of thousands of views on those videos. And it's like, you know, if you'd released that video at the time, nobody. I mean, a few people would have watched it,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't have started any drama. Let's see how many views she's at right now. But I feel like that, the fact that she had it and that other lady wasn't able to retain it, but it turned into like a full-blown weapon.
Yeah. Like, she might have had a bad day in journalism that day, but she's definitely not a dumb journalist because she kept all her old tapes. Like, how many other tapes does she have about different actors or actresses who are, like, bad interviews that she's going to release at some other time when she's like, this is another day I wanted to quit my job when I interviewed, whoever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it turns out that person's also having a bad time right now. Just so happens.
Yeah, even though she said, I didn't even know about that. It's like, be honest, you know about that. Be honest, that's why you released it now.
Yeah.
Because people were criticizing it. Yeah. And also, very inconvenient that Blake Lively said, congratulations on your little bump, to a lady who's infertile and cannot have children.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
It just makes her look like even a bigger jerk, even though it's like, okay, well, obviously you should know that.
Yeah. But it's just like, how much of it is even true anyway? Like, is the lady, respectfully,
is she even Norwegian?
Is she even infertile? Or is she, because like, she's like, oh, like, I didn't know about the Blake Lively stuff. And it's just like, are you just stoking the fire? Like, come on. You know what you're doing.
Maybe. Who knows? I think, so that, it's like, I don't believe you that you didn't know about that. However, the reason that she didn't release it when she first made the tape, I think that just makes logical sense. That she's like, I was worried about how it would affect my career if I released it. So it makes sense that she didn't release it at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't trust any of those. Don't trust any of those people. Any of those things.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And it's interesting because Ryan Reynolds is like really on top right now. Like, Deadpool and Wolverine did amazing. It outsold the first two Deadpool movies. It did better than any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like the biggest box office success for Marvel since like Endgame or something like that.
Wow. Wait, it did better than, what is it, Shang-Chi and the Seven Rings? It did better than Mrs. Marvel? The Marvels?
The Eternals?
Yeah. They've had some kind of...
So he's actually doing great right now. And then it's like, man, my movie's doing great. My wife's movie's coming out right now that she produced and starred in. We've got our kids. She's got her hair care line that she's doing. and oh yeah, and I'm gonna edit some scenes from my wife's movie. Like, I feel like for them it must have felt like, this is so fun, like our careers are so collaborative. Meanwhile, everyone's over here like, Blake Lively, we hate you, and Ryan Reynolds, get out, go back to Deadpool. Nobody asked for you or Hugh Jackman at the premiere here. Stop editing the movie.
Yeah.
The fact that he rewrote scenes and no one told the screenwriter, and the screenwriter, like, somebody said to the screenwriter, had to think, oh yeah, well, this scene Ryan Reynolds did, and the screenwriter was like, what? That's embarrassing. That's like, it's easy to understand how a mistake like that happens, but that's embarrassing.
But also, thinking about it more deeply, isn't there a whole, like, writers' union? And so if you're, like, unionized, but then, like, someone who's not in the union does your job, isn't that, like, a huge faux pas?
I have no idea.
Because, like, hey, you're taking our jobs. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not like Ryan Reynolds got paid for it.
True, but...
In fact, he actually was paying for the movie.
I guess that's a loophole then.
Like, him and Blake Lively are producers on the movie, so he can produce it however he wants. If the screenwriter wrote something and he says, I don't want it to be like that, he's producing the movie. He can change it if he wants to. I think it's interesting that
is
Blake...
fair.
I think it's interesting that Blake Lively...
I'm paying the screenwriter.
Interesting that Blake Lively brought in a different editor and had to edit the whole re-edit the entire movie. Blake's cut. And then...
It's like the Snyder cut.
And then the audience who watched it was like, no. This is not the way to tell this story.
Has the movie been released yet? Whatever movie it is?
I don't know yet. I think it has, but I'm not sure. Let me see. I'll look it up.
Because I'd be interested, because they went with the other director. But I would be interested to see how that movie does.
Oh, it was released August 9th.
Oh, okay. I would be interested to see how that movie does, and then if they like pull a, was it Zack Snyder, and then release like
Blake's cut.
Yeah, the Lively cut.
And well, you know what is the thing? So this is obviously a massive hit to Blake Lively's career because nobody likes her anymore. Everybody thinks that she's
for now.
You know, you said today, oh, let's not do a Am I the A-hole? And it's like, we kind of did do an Am I the A-hole in a way. Is Blake Lively the A-hole? And yet,
no,
if you think about it, for this movie...
She's just famous.
This is like... Her movie is getting gobs and gobs of press now that it never would have gotten. Nobody would have even said it. Brett Cooper wouldn't have been going on about it for days. None of these other YouTubers. There's so many YouTubers who are talking about this right now, and everybody is interesting, you know? And yet nobody would have been talking about it if there wasn't the drama between her and the director.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't have enough money for press.
If there wasn't
drama,
drama
so they just made drama
between that old lady, the Norwegian lady.
Maybe they just didn't have enough money for press, and so they just had to make drama.
Because that's the other thing, is like drama is really free press, you know. And then some people subscribe to the philosophy that no press is bad press, you know.
Yeah.
So it could be that actually,
certain press is
like,
bad press.
Lively is sitting back being
certain
like,
press is bad
ha ha ha, watching the money roll in, because how many more people heard about the movie and then are like, well, now I gotta see the movie, you know, just because of the trauma.
I feel like she'd make a lot more money if she released the Lively cut.
I don't know. I
I'd
haven't
like to
actually.
see it side by
I
side,
haven't
though.
actually heard any reviews of the movie yet.
Which is
I've
wild,
only
'cause
heard
it's been
people
about
reviewing
for a
the.
month.
Huh?
It's been out for nearly a month now. It's
3
nearly
weeks.
It's nearly September. Yeah. But
So. I don't
anyway.
know.
I think yeah, it's drama. Am I surprised that there was an actress in Hollywood who's like mean? Not in the slightest.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
Who seems conceited and stuff.
yeah, like
Of course.
it's like, okay, are they a Hollywood actor? Okay, like
Yeah. Comes from a celebrity family.
yeah, it's like, remember when, what was it, I think it was during COVID, a whole bunch of celebrities got together and sang like,
Gal it up.
yeah, what's
Imagine by John Lennon.
yeah, and everyone
So cringy.
Everyone made fun of it because
man,
they're just
it
like,
was
oh, they
Have you
just
ever
want...
actually watched it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, dude, let's watch it after this.
No.
It's so painful. It's so
wanna watch it.
embarrassing.
But everyone was just talking about like, you know, all these people just want attention, you know, And it's just like, yeah.
Desperate for attention, and also it's like, you know, we're talking to our friend the other night. She's got children who are teenagers, and we're talking about the teenage slang. And she's like, yeah, first of all, you can't even understand what they're saying half the time, and then if you use their same terminology, then they say that you're embarrassing. And it's like, the celebrities singing John Lennon are the parents who don't realize how embarrassing their baby. Oh, it was so painful.
Yeah.
It was so painful.
It's just... Anyway, so, yeah, I don't know.
I just try not to cringe video of watching that.
I think it's just typical Hollywood. That's how people are. I feel like, I mean, if you think about it, you're more surprised and impressed by the Hollywood stars who you hear do really nice things than the ones doing, like, mean things, you know? Like, everyone was on this whole
Like, it's more shocking when people are like, Keanu Reeves rode the subway and gave his seat up to a pregnant woman?
Exactly.
And
that's
like,
exactly what I was about to say. But yes, 100%. Everyone was on the Keanu Reeves bandwagon.
Reeves ate a sandwich with a homeless person? Gave him a sandwich?
Yeah, it's like... Exactly. So I feel like it's not surprising. It's just another celebrity being a celebrity. Mm-hmm. And I feel like most celebrities are probably that way, but they're just better actors. You know what I mean?
That's something a little bit interesting? Because when I talk about actresses who have had kind of like little comeback responses to interviewers, someone who easily comes to mind as being very good at that is Scarlett Johansson. She's very quick to correct people, but in a way that's not embarrassing for her. It's like, you're like, that's right, Scarlett Johansson. You don't let those people talk to you that way. But it's not too aggressive. And Scarlett Johansson, if we think about it, is the ex-wife of who?
Oh, get out of here.
Ryan Reynolds. So maybe Blake Lively was feeling a little bit competitive. It's like, man, his ex-wife, she's so quick with the comebacks when the interviewers say the wrong thing. I really gotta, like, step up my game. I gotta find my chance to, like, lay some golden line down on a interviewer and put them in their place. And then people were just not asking her offensive questions. And so it's like, man, I need to find a way to be offended by one of these questions or one of these statements.
Oh, gosh.
And then she's just competing, just trying. And I love the idea that Scarlett Johansson maybe is like sitting in bed one night before she goes to sleep watching YouTube on her phone and like sees this interview of Blake Lively and is like, so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Or that Blake Lively is like, she comes to bed and Ryan Reynolds is already laying there and he's watching the clip and she's like, what's that? And he's like, oh, nothing. And it's like Scarlett Johansson being like, you asked me whether or not I'm wearing underwear. What's with the rabbit food questions? Like all of the Scarlett Johansson ones.
Rabbit food questions.
Yeah, that was a different clip of like, somebody did ask, she was at Comic-Con and they were asking all the boys like really interesting questions about their characters, and then for her they're like, what kind of workouts do you do? And she's like, why do I get the rabbit food question?
I don't know, maybe because
they haven't made a Black Widow movie yet. I don't know, but then
maybe because she's the only girl, like, you know, like at the time she was like the only Marvel character who was a girl.
Well, you don't even know what time it was when I asked that.
That's fair.
But also,
I guess they did also have Scarlet Witch, and they also had Gamora.
And also, like, Anne Hathaway's gotten offended at the same thing. Why didn't you ask me? Like, when someone was the same guy actually who asked Scarlett Johansson about her underwear asked Anne Hathaway about what was her workout routine for preparing for Catwoman, and she got really offended, which maybe it's just everyone's trying to be Scarlett Johansson, because it was the same guy. So I bet you any money that Anne Hathaway went into that interview knowing this is the guy who asked Scarlett Johansson an inappropriate question, and she had a great comeback. And whenever he asked her about her workout, she's like, "Why? Are you trying to fit into a cat suit?" And like, didn't want to talk about that. And it's like, and then she's like, "It's just what you think. It's just work out a lot and eat a lot of green food."
The thing is, though,
I think that's what I'm convinced now. Everyone wants to be Scarlett Johansson, and they're just jealous they're not.
Guys get asked the same question. The guy who played the Winter Soldier, he got asked his workout routine. The guy who played Captain America got asked his workout routine. The guy who plays Wolverine got asked his workout routine. And him especially, because he got asked.
They're kind of objectifying roles. It's a lot of it is about what you look like.
Yeah, but not only that, the guy, Hugh Jackman, that's his name, because he was in.
I want to watch some of these interviews with you now after we're done with it.
He was in the movie, the singing movie. What's that movie?
The Greatest Showman.
Not The Greatest Showman.
Oh, Les Mis.
Les Mis, yeah. So he was in Les Mis, and in the opening of that movie, he's like super like skinny, like very sickly looking, you know? And then, and then you turn around and watch Wolverine, where he's like ripped out of his mind, and so it's just like, they of course ask like, what are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing to like go from like...
And they never say steroids, surprisingly.
A lot of steroids.
They never ever bring that up.
Yeah, but even like Aquaman gets asked the same questions. What's his workout routine? Because he's ginormous. And
I think it should be fun to ask, and I think it's probably more interesting to ask about the character that they're playing, because the character is what the movie's about, but I don't think it's an inappropriate question.
I don't think it's an inappropriate question about asking someone's workout routine in preparing for a movie, because, like, of all... I mean, how many gyms are in the United States?
I don't know.
How many people have, like, diet plans? Like, there are so many fad diets out there.
How many people are looking at Black Widow and Catwoman thinking, "Oh my gosh, I wish I looked like that"?
Yeah.
How many people are looking at,
Captain America and
Wolverine
thinking,
and being like, "Oh, I wish."
Yeah, it's like...
Thor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, going to the gym thinking, like, oh, if I just lift this weight. But it's like, it's more than that. It's a
like
diet.
It's steroids, too.
But I'm just saying, like...
Impossible without the steroids.
I'm just saying. It's also movie effects, but... it's also CGI, but...
It's also painted on, like, it's not like they don't have people body paint them, also. Just saying.
But
there's a lot of enhancements.
It's just... I feel like the health industry in terms of working out and diets is like such a huge industry that it's not an appropriate question, because it makes sense. Like, you can think of people in your life who have been on a fad diet, and it's not just one person. It would be multiple people, whether they're doing keto or whether they're doing like intermittent fasting. It's like, there are multiple people in your life who you can think of that like are doing all these fad diets, and it's like, and they're also going to the gym, and it's just like, everyone wants to know how people look the way they look, because they want to look that way too.
It must be kind of a double-edged sword for particularly actors of the boy variety, who are in these movies where they have to be shirtless at some point in time, and because they train specifically for those scenes, they dehydrate, for those scenes. And so when you think all these actors, the big muscly actors, like you think Thor, you think Captain America, Wolverine, whatever, and then
the entire cast of Magic Mike. Yeah.
How long are they in filming? Right, a couple months, and then when they're not, or prep plus filming, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. When they're not doing that, they're not training to that extent. They're not dehydrating for a scene before, but that's how you see them, and they do that for specifically when you see them shirtless. Yeah. And so then, anytime after that, it's like when people do meet them in person, if they ever see them shirtless, it must be like, oh. I thought you were more. I thought you were super ripped, and you're like normal ripped. Like they obviously always do stay in decent shape.
Yeah. But
it could only be a letdown, like compared to what people see on the screen or on their like notebook folders. That's like Captain America or whatever.
So, 2 things. One, Wesley Snipes, the guy who plays Blade, I really appreciated his interview for Deadpool, because when they asked him, like, how'd you get in contact, what happened, and he's like, well, they reached out to me, Ryan Reynolds, and they told me that Ryan Reynolds wanted me to be in his movie as Blade, and his response I thought was great, because he's like, and I told them, he's like, I'm not Blade ready. He's like, I haven't been Blade ready in 20 years, because he's an older guy, and he's like, so when I agreed to do the part, he's like, I went to the gym, worked out, was dieting, and he's like, I got like a trainer to like help me out, and he's like, and then I went to shoot the movie, and with like a few well-placed padding, he's like, I was Blade ready. And it's just like, that's such an honest and like good answer, because he's just like,
I'm in a padded suit.
He's like, dude, I'm an older guy. Like, I did the best I could, and the rest, they patted me up, they touched me up, whatever. And he's like, and I looked as good as I did when I was Blade. And I'm just like, I love that. I love that answer. Yeah. But the other one I wanted to talk about was the guy who plays Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like red and blue with all like the tattoos over his body. He's usually shirtless.
Oh yeah. The bald guy.
So I saw him recently, and he is like way skinnier. He's like slimmed down a whole bunch because he like stopped eating meat. And
I'm gonna see a picture of him.
They asked him, they're like, dude, what's up? Like, are you okay? Because they thought he was maybe like sick or something.
Like he had cancer or something.
Well, because he like trimmed down a lot, and he's just like, no, he's like, I was just trying to be more healthy, and so I've been eating differently.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah. And he's like, so I've been eating differently. And he's like, but also he's like, all the roles that I'm playing are like these buff guys, and he's like, and I want to play like more meaningful roles. And I'm just like, that's such a good answer, you know what I mean? Like, he is a buff guy. He is the buff guy, Yeah. But he's like, he's being healthy, and then he's like, I want to be like I want to be taken more seriously, not just the buff guy, And so I appreciate that.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. Yeah, look there, he looks very skinny for, what you're used to seeing him.
I mean, he doesn't look bad. He just looks...
His arms just look tiny compared to what you expect.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it must be weird for these guys who, everyone has a certain image of them in their mind as, like, these mega ripped, buff guys. And it's like, I mean, sometimes I'm that. I'm not usually that.
Anyway.
I know, too long. 120. Moral of the story.
Just be nice.
Everyone just wants to be Scarlett Johansson.
Everyone just wants to be Scarlett Johansson.
Anne Hathaway wants to be Scarlett Johansson. Blake Lively mega wants to be Scarlett Johansson.
moral of the story, whatever you do, just be nice. And you just need to be okay with the fact that you're not Scarlett Johansson. I'm not Scarlett Johansson. You're not Scarlett Johansson. There's only one. And that's okay. Just be you. That's all I got.
Okay, bye.